Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump on Monday signaled readiness for possible trilateral talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin as European leaders gathered at the White House for urgent discussions on ending the prolonged Russia-Ukraine acrimony. Now, the hastily arranged summit follows Trump's Friday meeting with Putin in Alaska, where the two discussed potential terms of halting the conflict. Trump has since suggested Ukraine should make concessions, including renouncing NATO membership and accepting the loss of Crimea. Now, Trump first held one-on-one talks with Zelensky before convening a larger session with the European leaders and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni, Finnish President Alexander Stubb, and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. European leaders excluded from Trump's Alaska talks with Putin arrived in Washington determined to safeguard Ukraine's interest and also press for durable security guarantees.
I think he wants to make a deal for me. You understand that? As crazy as it sounds. Just sit down. Sit down, everybody.
U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to the White House on Monday for a hastily arranged summit with several European leaders to discuss a path to ending Russia's war in Ukraine. At the meeting, Trump said the United States would help Europe in providing security guarantees for Ukraine.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
But Trump also suggested to reporters that he no longer believed reaching a ceasefire was a necessary prerequisite for striking a peace agreement. That is a position staked out by Russian President Vladimir Putin and opposed by Zelensky and most European leaders. During a sit-down with the other European leaders, Trump also said he expected Putin to release over 1,000 Ukrainian prisoners once he agrees to a trilateral meeting with Trump and Zelensky.
I know there's over 1,000 prisoners, and I know they're going to release them. Maybe they're going to release them very soon, like immediately, which I think is great.
Zelensky received the backing of the leaders of Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Finland, the European Union, and NATO, who traveled to Washington to demonstrate solidarity with Ukraine and push for strong security guarantees for the country in any post-war settlement.
Playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III.
Monday's summit comes about 6 months after Trump's last White House meeting with Zelensky descended into disaster when Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance slammed him, saying he showed disrespect. This time, Zelensky described the one-on-one discussion as very good and said they had spoken about the importance of U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine.
This is very important that the United States gives such strong signal and is ready for security guarantees.
Putin has not publicly committed to a meeting with Trump and Zelensky, though Trump said repeatedly that he believes Putin wants to end the war. Trump said he had spoken to Putin on Monday and would call him after the talks as well. The war, which began with Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, has killed or wounded more than 1 million people from both sides, including thousands of mostly Ukrainian civilians, according to analysts, and destroyed wide swaths of the country.
Now, Donald Trump, while referring to the trilateral, said that he will organize it and hope that Zelensky and Putin will be able to make a deal.
We love them. We love them. President Putin, also you have President of Ukraine, who is, you just met a little while ago, and we're going to try and get a three-party meeting, maybe as soon as we can, and I have a feeling you and President Putin are going to work something out. Ultimately, this is a decision that can only be made by President Zelensky and by the people of Ukraine working also together in agreement with President Putin, and I just think that's very good things are going to come of it. So I hope we have a good meeting, and if we can have a good meeting, I'll set up a meeting with President Putin, and if you'd like, I'll go to that meeting. And not that I want to do that, but I will do that because we want to save a lot of people from dying. A lot of people are dying, and we got to save them. Got to save it. 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people sometimes a week. All of us would obviously prefer an immediate ceasefire while we work on a lasting peace, and maybe something like that could happen. As of this moment, it's not happening, but President Zelensky and President Putin can talk a little bit more about that. You know, and the next step would be for a trilateral meeting, and that will be worked out, and I just look forward to working and having a great result. We're going to spend a lot of time today talking about, and we're really honored you guys came over. I mean, these are the heads of major countries and respected all over Europe, and they speak for, largely, I think I should say, but pretty much for the other countries of Europe.
We don't have any day. We just confirmed after this productive meeting with the President and then with all our colleagues, with the partners, we confirmed that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposed to President of the United States bilateral, and then we will see the result of bilateral, and then it can be the trilateral. So I said always, so Ukraine will never stop on the way to peace, and we are ready for any kind of formats, but on the level of leaders.
Now, before the summit, Donald Trump urged the Ukraine to abandon its ambition to join NATO and its hopes of regaining Crimea, which Russia seized back in the year of 2014. Most of the world cast Russia's annexation of the peninsula as illegal.
I don't think you need a ceasefire. You know, if you look at the 6 deals that I settled this year, they were all at war. I didn't do any ceasefires. And I know that it might be good to have, but I can also understand strategically why, well, you know, one country or the other wouldn't want it. You have a ceasefire and they rebuild and rebuild and rebuild, and, you know, maybe they don't want that. But if you look at the 6 deals that we made peace and you know, long-term, long-running wars, I didn't do any ceasefires. Would I like the concept. You know, I like the concept of a ceasefire for one reason, because you'd stop killing people immediately, as opposed to in 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever it takes. But we can work a deal where we're working on a peace deal while they're fighting. They have to fight. I wish they could stop. I'd like them to stop. But strategically, that could be a disadvantage for one side or the other. But all of these deals I made without even the mention of the words ceasefire.
The meetings come after Donald Trump rolled out the red carpet for Russian President Vladimir Putin at a summit in Alaska on Friday.
I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
But Donald Trump has already set the terms of debate. He is openly questioning Ukraine's NATO aspirations. In fact, he is hinting that Kiev may have to give up its dream of membership in exchange for what he calls a quote-unquote tailor-made security guarantee. For Crimea too, his position seems very clear that the issue is settled.
In a very significant step, President Putin agreed that Russia would accept security guarantees for Ukraine, and this is one of the key points that we need to consider, and we're going to be considering that at the table also, like who will do what. We're going to try and get a 3-party meeting, maybe as soon as we can, and I have a feeling you and President Putin are going to work something out. But I believe a peace agreement at the end of all of this is something that's very attainable, and it can be done in the near future.
All of us want to finish this war, stop Russia and stop this war. We spoke about it, and we will speak more about security guarantees. This is very important that the United States gives such strong signal and is ready for security guarantees. The second point, or maybe the first, the humanitarian direction, very important to exchange all the prisoners, and I think that the President will help.
I know there's over 1,000 prisoners, and I know they're going to release them. Maybe they're going to release them very soon, like immediately, which I think is great. But we're going to set that up today after this meeting.
Meanwhile, European leaders hinted that they are on board with Trump's plans of holding talks with Russia to end the war as long as security guarantees are also given to Ukraine. European leaders also said that they want the issue of Ukrainian prisoners in Russia also be addressed.
It's not a great day.
Yeah, well, today's meeting was good and constructive, and there was a real sense of unity between the European leaders that were there and President Trump and President Zelensky. And we had two material outcomes. The first, on the question of security guarantees, was the agreement that the coalition of willing countries, that's 30 countries already working together on security guarantees, will now work with the US on those guarantees, coordinating, and we have already commissioned our teams to do the detailed further work on that. That's really important for security in Ukraine, for security in Europe, and for security in the United Kingdom. The other material outcome was the agreement that will now be a bilateral agreement between President Putin and President Zelensky. That was after a phone call between President Trump and President Putin during the course of this afternoon, followed by a trilateral, which will then add in President Trump. And that is a recognition of the principle that on some of these issues, whether it's territory or the exchange of prisoners, or the very serious issue of the return of the children, that is something where Ukraine must be at the table. And so these were the two outcomes that were the most important coming out of today. They're positive outcomes. There was real sense of unity. We've made real progress today. Thank you very much.
Had more progress in ending this war than we have in the past 3.5 years. And I think the fact that we're around this table today is very much symbolic in the sense that it's Team Europe and Team United States helping Ukraine, and the progress that we're looking out of this meeting.
Thank you very much, Donald, Mr. President, for hosting us today in this important meeting. And I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3.5 years that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is changing, something has changed, thanks to you. Thanks also to the stalling in the battlefield, which was achieved with the bravery of Ukrainians and with the unity that we all provided to Ukraine. And the reason why I mention it is that we also have to remind that if we want to reach peace and if we want to guarantee justice, we have to do it united. So that's why it's a very good day, the one we are in. You can obviously count on Italy as it was from the beginning. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we do absolutely support your efforts.